Mike McCarthy is gone, out in Dallas. Thank you, God. Finally, Jerry came to his senses. And yet, is there an obvious Coach Vrabel waiting for the New England Patriots? No, there's nobody obvious right now. I wanted Jim Harbaugh a year ago after that disaster of a debacle against Green Bay, and I believe he's going to be the coach of the year. They did not play well. I'm going to get to that in a minute in their away playoff game, obviously, at Houston on Saturday. But Jim Harbaugh completely changed the culture overnight with the LA Chargers, overnight, and would have done it in Dallas if Jerry could put up with Jim Harbaugh, which probably he could not have. I wanted Deion Sanders. I still want Deion Sanders. I'm still hoping against hope that Deion will say, yeah, I was born to coach the Dallas Cowboys, for whom I played with and won a Super Bowl. Deion still has a home in Dallas. He raised his children in Dallas. Shedeur came up through the ranks in Dallas. But I'm pretty sure, according to my brother Lil Wayne, that Deion is committed heart and soul to Boulder, Colorado, to Colorado University. See you, I see you. And he's recruited 2 really good quarterbacks for next year. And I just don't think he could leave them high and dry to go to Dallas. Deion said, I would go coach my sons, but I just can't figure out how the Dallas Cowboys could land Shedeur. I don't see it because the Giants are sitting up above them and they're not, again, Deion might say no to the 2 teams drafting above the Giants, Tennessee, Cleveland, but he'd want Shedeur in the Big Apple thrown to Malik Neighbors. I just think that's going to happen. So I just don't see Deion going to Dallas. So who does that leave on the table right now? Well, again, I do love the Mike Tomlin idea. Maybe Jerry last week was talking to the Rooneys. Maybe they were floating this idea of exchanging coaches. Maybe. The word in Pittsburgh, the reports in Pittsburgh is that they want him back and he is beloved there, but maybe he is a little stale. I mean, Mike McCarthy was born stale. I can't see why they would want their hometown hero to come home, Mike McCarthy, but whatever. I don't care about them. I only care about us. Is Mike Tomlin a possibility for Dallas? Because he's only 52 years of age. He needs to regenerate. I still think he has greatness in him. I think he has multiple Super Bowls in him with an emphasis on defense and a destruction of that country club culture that Mike McCarthy has run with no player accountability in Dallas. Mike Tomlin would end that. And by the way, isn't it high time that Jerry Jones hired a black head coach? Oh, that's a novel idea in 2025. Jerry, it's never too late. How about it? So I looked down the list. Speaking of black head coaches, I do love Brian Flores, and I think he got a raw deal, and I think he was exactly right in Miami about Tua. Tua's not the answer. I know he took sort of a publicity beating for the comments that he made that came off very harsh about Tua, and Tua's a great kid. We get that. He's just not the answer. And Brian Flores knew it. And look at the job Brian Flores has done with that Vikings defense. I think he has some greatness down there inside of him, and I would not mind him. Another defensive coordinator who's had a pretty good run this year is Aaron Glenn, who did play for the Cowboys in 05 and 06. Played with my friend Keyshawn Johnson. I just like the way he handles himself on the sideline. He's 52 years of age also. He just carries himself like an adult to me, like a leader who's in charge, like somebody with real live experience who has authority and command to him. And even though he has no head coaching experience, I'm not opposed. But I am opposed to Aaron Glenn's cohort, his offensive coordinator in Detroit, Ben Johnson. I don't get Ben Johnson. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I know he's going to be the hottest candidate for the Cowboy job, and maybe Jerry will just cave in to the groundswell of public support for Ben Johnson and go hire Ben Johnson. Yeah, he's very good at coaching offense. He's very good at game planning. He's very good at play calling. He has the greenest of lights because his head coach goes for it every single time. And it benefits the coordinator to know that the head coach is completely with him to go for it and try and risk and risk and risk. And listen, Jared Goff is really good. I'm not the biggest fan, but he is really good. And they have weapons everywhere. Everywhere I look is another weapon. They have an offensive line that rivals Philadelphia's. I still think Philly's is slightly better, but that left tackle they have in Detroit is simply the best left tackle in football. And Jahmyr Gibbs is absolutely electric. And St. Brown, Williams, I can go on. They have weapons, that tight end. God. So Ben Johnson has never remotely been a head coach. He's 38 years of age. He's a stats guy. He's an analytics guy. He doesn't seem to have much of a personality. I don't know. We don't get to see much of it, but I just have an idea. He's one of those analytics freaks who can't command men in an NFL locker room the way Dan Campbell can. Dan Campbell is gifted at charisma and motivation and stature and aura because he played the game. Not that you have to play the game, but he played it. He's a big man who looks the part and is the part with the great jawline, the Bill Cowher jaw. You have to have some of that, if not all of that, to win at this level. Dan Campbell has done a sensational job of changing the culture, and I don't think Ben Johnson can change any culture. If he'd come to Dallas as the offensive coordinator, I'd say, thank you very much. But you know, and I know he's not going to do that. I've seen this again and again and again, going back to my friend Norv Turner. Norv Turner was a great coordinator, but he never made a great head coach because he wasn't a natural-born leader. He had no charisma to him. He's very soft-spoken, very inward, very analytical in his own head. He lived in his own head, and it doesn't translate. He was okay as a head coach, but never great. There have been so many coordinators who were never great as head coaches because the system is flawed. It's broken because somehow fans and ultimately GMs and owners think that a head coach in waiting is learning to be a head coach as a coordinator, which has absolutely nothing to do with commanding a football team. Running a unit, calling plays, designing game plans for a unit has nothing to do with running the show. So I don't get Ben Johnson, and I warn you, if he gets named Dallas Cowboy head coach just because he's got the flash and the dash right now, and Jerry loves the sizzle, I warn you, I'll try to be cautiously optimistic. I'll try to get in line, but I don't love it because he's another Mike McCarthy in waiting. I don't want to have to go through that again. So what's the flip side? And by the way, I know Cliff Kingsbury. I love Cliff Kingsbury. Right now, it's just about Jayden Daniels. I'm sorry. I've told you about Jayden Daniels. I'm going to talk about him in just a moment. He's just it. He is him. Or grammatically, he is he. He's the one. He's just magically transformed that franchise overnight into a very dangerous dark horse playoff team, has Jayden Daniels. I'll give Cliff a little bit of credit. I love Cliff. I do. But look, Johnny Manziel made him during that Heisman run that year, catapulted him. And now Jayden Daniels is remaking Cliff after a rough run in Arizona with Kyler. I just don't love it. and I like him, and he does have charisma to him. He's got a little flash and a little dash to his game. He can talk to the media, but I don't love this. Which brings me to a guy who's just sitting out there because he's been written off as too old. I mean, to me, Pete Carroll is the youngest 73-year-old going, other than somebody nearby right here, right now. But I know Pete Carroll. I know him well enough to tell you he just spills energy and urgency and charisma all over everyone he's around. Do I think he can still coach at 73? You better believe I do. If you look hard at his track record, I know he struggled in the first go-around with New England, the NFL. Look what he did at USC. He awoke the sleeping giant. They dominated college football for several years. And then he went to Seattle and just turned it right around into the dominant franchise for several years. Sure, you burn out that team that he assembled there, featuring my friend Richard Sherman. It was volatile. It was just on hair trigger. It had a shelf life because the personalities, starting with beast mode and all those defensive backs and defensive players, it was just explosive to the point it was going to explode on itself. It happened. It came and it stayed and then it went. Pete Carroll can flat out coach. He's not lost any of his fastball. He's 73 going on 33. You know it and I know it. I'd be great with him as the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Could I see him handling Jerry Jones? I could. Pete's got enough sort of used car salesman in him. It's that kind of, it's how he convinces players to be better than they should be. He can sell some ice to the Eskimos. Yeah, that's how you have to do it. He has huge charisma, and I think he could keep Jerry at bay. I think he could keep Jerry happy. I think he could talk to Jerry in ways that would content Jerry, that would keep Jerry happy, that he was in the loop without really being in the loop. So would I go Pete Carroll over Ben Johnson? You better believe that I would. All I know is that for right now, I'm stunned that Jerry didn't just go back to what felt good for Jerry. And maybe it was about money, but I don't care. Mike McCarthy was a disaster in Dallas, even though he said 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, 1-3 in the postseason, and now he's 6-9 since that Super Bowl run in the postseason. He had Aaron Rodgers, and Mike Tomlin didn't have Aaron Rodgers in that one Super Bowl that Mike McCarthy won 15 years ago, 31-25. That's it. So God bless you, Chicago Bears, if you're going to hire Mike McCarthy. God bless you, New Orleans Saints, if you're going to hire Mike McCarthy. Buyer beware. Mike McCarthy is gone. Ding dong, the wicked, I can't call him a witch, the wicked wallflower. That's what he is. Ding dong, the wicked wallflower is dead in Dallas. Finally. Thank you, God.